Caudell's out of Austin, Indiana. It started with Doug Caudell, who raced at Vernon. Is it Vernon Speedway?
Vernon Speedway.
And you ran there when? The 60s?
Early 60s.
And what did you race in the early 60s?
38 Chevy.
A 38 Chevy with what powered it?
Had an inline six-cylinder, 261 out of a bus, and we had it all souped up and run alcohol, and it was 300 horsepower, and that was a lot for an inline six-cylinder back then.
That was a lot for the early 60s. So is that how it happened for you, Jeff Caudell, the family genes?
Yeah, Dad got us started. We'd go to the racetrack every Saturday, and just kind of got hooked on it. You know, gets in your blood, and when we got old enough to get our own race car, and that's what happened, and we've been racing ever since. You know, I had a tough year this year, you know, with the injury and the crash, but we'll be back next year full time.
Now, who helps you out on your car, the 20 and the 98?
Well, we've got some guys that come to the track and help. Kevin Willis and Keith Williams does our tires. Dylan Caudell, which is Scott's boy, he shows up and helps with tires. Dad's there as well. And
So your dad raced in the early 60s. When did it start for you, and where did it start?
well, actually started dirt as well. Me and Scott bought a Chevelle, probably what, Scott, in the mid-'80s?
85.
It was a 74 Chevelle, ill handling car. It was terrible. We couldn't get around the track without spinning it out. That was our first venture with a race car, and we've kind of both had race cars ever since.
Yeah. All these years later, is the drive still there for you? Do you want to go to the track and race just as bad? Are you worn out? Where are you at on that?
Oh, I still feel good. I want to win every time I go.
Yeah.
And I'm competitive. I have a competitive nature. I don't like to lose. You know, that doesn't go away.
I thought it was interesting that looking at the old picture of the car, Doug, you raced at Vernon in the early 60s. It had a number 98 on it, and I'm going to guess that's where you got your number.
That's where it came from. A little bit different shade of blue, but
yeah,
we definitely I wanted to run the 98 for, and honor Dad.
So Salem Speedway, when you look at the history of that place, pushing 74 years now, since 1947, the great drivers that cut their teeth there, from Parnelli Jones to A.J. Foyt, the Unser brothers, Jim Hurtubise, more in the modern era, your Jeff Gordons and Tony Stewarts and your Waltrips. What's it mean to race at Salem Speedway?
It's an honor to race at a track that so much history, so many great drivers, and we wanted to continue to do that because it means a lot to race there.
Yeah, and it probably ratchets up the nerves pretty well, doesn't it? Salem Speedway, the high banks, the history. I mean, we've lost, I think 11 drivers have lost their lives on the Salem high banks over the years. We're living in an era where racing is much safer now, granted, but that place still makes people nervous.
It sure does. I had a bad wreck there 4 years ago in a Halloween 200. Got turned head on into the wall and went up in the air and almost took the flagman out, and then ended up on my top and sliding a quarter way around the track on my top.
2020 coming up. You guys have a plan to come to the track with the 20 and the 98 each and every week?
Yep, we're going to run the full season. My car's getting repaired right now. Sean Smith down at Louisville is got the car. That's why it's not here. The car should be better than it ever was. We're putting a whole new clip on the front. Just get it back, test it, and I think we'll have a good year.
What's Salem Speedway mean to you?
It means, like Scott said, it means a lot because of the history. It's just where everybody wants to go and win. You hear it time and time again, if you can be competitive at Salem, you can go anywhere. There's a lot of respect among the drivers there because of the speed and danger and the thrill. It's a great place to race.
Yeah. A.J. Foyt always said that if your nerves and your skill set could handle the Salem High Banks, you were good enough to run the Indianapolis 500.
Things happen quick there.
Yeah, you guys would know. Well, I love your story, the family story that goes back to the early 60s. Who's going to help you out sponsor-wise, right? Who's on with you now? I mean,
We've got Ison. They come on board this year. We're hoping to get them back next year.
yep.
And, you know, that's probably one of our main sponsors we've got. We've got Todd Campbell there. I hope he comes back next year.
Sign Tim's Body Shop.
Tim's Body Shop.
Tim's Body Shop will get some use after a season at Salem.
He always does. And, you know, he's
We'll put him to work.
He's a guy that helps out lots of teams.
Are we
in
talking
Salem.
Tim Sebastian? Who also fields 2 and 3 cars at a time?
Yeah, he does a lot for the racers in Salem.
He does a lot for the track. He does a lot for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tax service,
Down in county.
Dawn Accounting.
Dawn
That's
Accounting,
coming back
yep.
Next year, so.
Interstate fuel injection.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's your business. Well, who started your business, by the way? See, this is. I love the story. Not only the 3 generations of racers, but Doug, Dad, who started Interstate Fuel Injection. When did you, Doug, start Interstate Fuel Injection?
About 1981, I think.
Wow, going way back now. Was there an opportunity in that business that you could see at the time, or how did, I mean, in '81, if I go back, we were in a bad economic downturn, yet you started a business.
Right. I worked at Cummins and ended up retiring from there in '95, but in '81, they were having a big layoff, and I decided, I was into the fuel system part of it, and I decided to have something to go to in case I did get laid off. So that's how it got started.
For about '81, actually, you know, he had hired Scott, and he decided he wanted to do something different for a while, so I stepped in, and then Scott came back to the business a few years later, and he actually runs the automotive part of it, J&A Auto, and I run the interstate fuel injection part of it.
How are the businesses doing?
Good.
Good?
Yep, we're busy.
Yeah. Well, I love your story, the family connection going way back in the generations, racing-wise, and now we know business-wise. I think it's a great story and a great marketing opportunity for any sponsor to run with a Caudell, Scott Caudell in the 20 and Jeff Caudell in the 98. And best of all, they race weekly, full-time at Salem Speedway. Wishing you all the best. You're open.
Hey, Don.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Bright and early on.
Yeah, Bobby Thompson.
Yeah.
He's been gracious enough to let us store and work on our cars in just outside of Scottsburg. He's a deputy sheriff, and he allows us to come and go as we please, pretty much. And without him, we couldn't do this. So we want to give him a special thanks. Yeah, I haven't been able to clean this place in about 2 years. I've been so darn busy. But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
This is the office. This is the calibration room here.
Calibration room?
Yeah. Where yeah, it's a Cummins injectors I run on this machine here.
Yeah.
All kinds of different Cummins injectors. Cummins fuel pumps I run here.
Wow.
But we rebuild about any kind of diesel pump, but that's for the Cummins pumps. This is a tear down and assembly. Here I'm tear down and assembly. I'm putting together a Cummins variable speed pump now. It's for actually a backup generator for a fire department there. I'm doing that this morning, and down here's the injector bench. I tear down and rebuild Cummins injectors on this bench here.
Wow. And did you tell me you are the lone employee here, or do you have people working with you for you?
Yeah, at this time, I'm the only one in this shop.
Yeah.
You know, between Indy and Louisville, I'm about it.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Sort of cornered the market here in Seymour,
Yeah,
Indiana.
we've got our own little niche. We have a lot of the farmers really support us here.
locally in Seymour and Jackson County.
Yeah.
And really, multi-state, we have a lot of farmers, and word of mouth advertising is all we do.
How do you like working for yourself here? I mean, I think it's neat. I mean,
love it.
I bet you.
I don't have to answer to anyone. except
I
for
hear you
myself,
loud and clear.
But you know, the pressure's on me. I
Sure.
have to get it done. And
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be, though.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be done right when
Yeah.
when it stops with you.
that's what my customers like too. They know that if there's a problem, they can come to me. They
Yeah,
don't have to look for someone.
understood. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
You bet.